Why did Roman centurions wear crests on their helmets? Helmets have protected warriors' heads since prehistoric times. Long before people could smelt metal, they made helmets from leather and even animal bone. Homer describes Odysseus wearing a helmet made of boar tusks. As metallurgy advanced, helmets became metal and were often decorated with feathers or crests. Homer even mentions crests waving in the wind during the Trojan War, which supposedly took place in the 13th century BCE. The horsehair crest, often dyed in bright colors, became a trademark of the Corinthian-style Greek helmet, famously worn by the Spartans. But what was the point of these crests? First, they made a soldier appear taller and more intimidating. Second, the color of the crest helped distinguish friend from foe and allowed soldiers from different city-states to identify each other on the battlefield. Back then, there was no standard uniform. Each warrior bought his own armor, and shield designs were personal or symbolic. Only the Spartans had a standardized emblem, a large Greek letter lambda, representing Lacedaemon, their homeland. In contrast, crests were uniform within each city-state. And unlike shield designs which faced the enemy, crests could be seen from all directions. That made them useful for officers to track their own units during combat. The Greeks were also the first to use helmet crests to signal rank. Officers wore their crests sideways, running ear to ear instead of front to back. One glance, and you'd know who was in command. The color could also signal which unit they led. The Romans borrowed armor and weapons from their neighbors, the Etruscans to the north, Greeks to the south. Southern Italy was full of Greek colonies at the time, but by the 1st century CE, Roman gear had evolved far from its Greek roots. Roman legionaries wore the lorica segmentata, a segmented iron cuirass that was cheaper and more protective than Greek armor. Their helmets, known as imperial Gallic types, were rounded and practical, but still included crest holders. Ordinary soldiers rarely wore crests, but centurions, Roman officers, always did. And like their Greek predecessors, they wore theirs sideways, marking them as leaders. Centurions were also identified by shin guards and their signature crimson cloaks, bright enough to be seen even in the chaos of battle. But cloaks could be torn off, stained with blood, or covered by enemy bodies. The crest, however, always stood tall above the fray. For higher-ranking commanders, military tribunes or legates, it was critical to see where each centurion was, whether they were alive, and if command structure still held. That sideways crest was a visual anchor amid the chaos, and that's why, even as Roman helmets changed over the centuries, the crest mount remained. And for centurions, the transverse crest never went away, not until the very end of the Western Roman Empire. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next episode.